10 साल के कॉर्पोरेट करियर के बाद ना कोई एनालिटिकल प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व नहीं करता है, कोई नहीं प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करता है. It's always a tricky question when it comes to success, right? So how do you even define success? Someone who is doing exceedingly well at an FMCG company, HUL, right? But at a lower pay grade because of the nature of the job,
Yeah.
right? Versus someone who is in product management, earning crazy amount of money, be the first guy at one of those unicorn startups, maybe the first employee, etc., right? So it's very difficult to define success, right? But I'm speaking to someone in Dubai, जिनसे I'm talking about taking a 4 crore का debt.
Would you have any advice for people who are yet to figure out their passion job, or because nothing is bad enough but nothing's good enough and they're somewhere in the middle? Hello and welcome to the 4th episode of Beyond IIM Bangalore, brought to you by the Student Alumni Committee of IIMB. This podcast is all about celebrating the incredible journeys of our alumni and exploring all the things they've learned along the way. Either you're a CAT aspirant dreaming of IIM Bangalore, a current student navigating your path, or a proud alumnus reconnecting, we're thrilled to have you all. Today, I'm delighted to welcome Ashis Nayak, an esteemed alumnus from the class of 2011. He's a computer science graduate from NIT Calicut, and you started your journey as a software engineer. For 3 years, you did that, and then you decided to pursue MBA from IIM Bangalore. Then you went on to do internship at ABG, and then you went on to become a product manager. Then you became a CEO, Chief Operating Officer, and then you co-founded your company, which is Autoninja, and currently you're with ShastraVC. And this is your journey, which we can get through LinkedIn. Now we'll get, now we'll dig deeper. So welcome back to your alma mater. So how does it feel to revisit the campus?
Thank you so much. Thank you, Rakshita, for having me here. It's always special coming back to the campus.
Okay.
I feel at home here, very honestly, right? This place is very special and very close to my heart. Has played a really large part of who I am today. And walking into the campus, you feel alive.
Okay.
That's that. But timing wise, a lot preoccupied, extremely angry at what's happening at the border. Our men in uniform and the government are giving the befitting reply. I, for one, is not the party to the de-escalate. I think we should make such a high deterrence for the rogue terrorist state that we have as our neighbor, to deter them at least for a few years to stop this adventure. But yeah, otherwise I'm good. Thank you for having me here.
That's a very thought-provoking reply, because I was in the morning wondering about the same, that is peace really peace when the other person is actually not wanting to do that, and one-sided peace is not necessary. So I think we're on the...
We are wanting peace. That's why it's still not an official war, right?
But you're not stepping down.
What do you mean by if we don't step down?
Yeah.
Right, then your civilians die, right? Because if we step down, we are just defending, right? What stepping down means? Should we not intercept their missiles? Then our civilians die. We're intercepting, we're not killing, right? So yeah, anyways.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how often do you visit campus?
I come here very often. That's the perk of being in Bangalore.
Okay.
So what I do is actually every time I have a meeting towards Bannerghatta Road or JP Nagar, I typically end up calling people to come to campus. That's my, because I live on the other side of the town, which is Whitefield. So whenever I am in this side, so for example, last week I had a visa appointment at VFS, which is on Bannerghatta Road, right? So I came to campus to called a friend to meet here, right? So yeah. I come here.
Okay, what do you feel is the reason that first you chose IIM Bangalore, or that was your calling in 2009, and even till now it sustains, and this is the place that makes you feel alive. Like, how do you think you decided coming here, and then what is it that keeps the connection alive?
I think it's a career journey or a person's journey which makes you connected to the place and obviously the memories, right? Um, I am of the strong advocate that the it's that age, right? Doesn't matter whether you're on IIMB campus or IIMA campus or even IIPM campus, your memories are not going to be a lot different, right? So that connect is always there. Why did I come to IIMB? It's actually so I worked with Intel for 3 years after my engineering, and I had figured out I was not I was all right in programming, but I was not great at programming, right? But I had figured out the application side of software, the business side of the software is something which could be very interesting, and that's where possibly my strength lies, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so that was the reason I thought, let's do an MBA. Yeah, I had B convert, so I came to IIM Bangalore. So yeah.
So, like, is there something from your CAD journey that you would want for the aspirants to know that could help them out?
I think it's down to that always play to your strength, right? So I don't know how many sections in the CAD right now there are, but during my time, at least there were three
Three
sections.
sections.
So there was quants, there was LIDR, and there was
VR.
verbs, right? So I was extremely good at LIDR. I was very good at quants that I knew.
Indeed.
I was bad at verbals, right? So what I did was just prepare enough for verbals to just clear the cutoff and be extremely good at the other two, right? So that's what I did.
Okay.
Right? And yeah, so that's with cat or anything in life. I believe the you do your best when you are absolutely good at something and you are doing that thing, right? It's not necessarily to be a generalist in life that you need to do 10 things, right? But if you are extremely good at two things and keep on doing those two things, you'll achieve bigger things in life. That's a lesson that I believe in, right? Yeah, my cat journey was also pretty similar to on this slide.
So, because you came in the 2009 batch, so I was wondering, as it's famously called the 3 days campus, so how did that pop culture reference play out in your journey?
Not really. We missed out here. I mean, we were the unfortunate ones that it happened in the late 2008, early 2009, right? So my PGP two, right? They had the fortune. But yeah, I can narrate one or two stories what I've heard from them. Apart from Kareena Kapoor, everyone else was in the campus for 40 days. Madhavan and Amir Khan were like really popular apparently.
Okay.
But yeah, very interesting thing was during our first year PGP, the induction week that you had, right? They had a fake audition because the Three Idiots was hot, right? There was a fake audition planned as Karthik calling Karthik, right, for the movie. And sad part was a batchmate of mine who was the narrator behind of imagine a PGP one doing the web around, catching his own batch people in a fake audition. He's the guy who runs the cane today, right? The cane, if you guys know, right? So PGK, which we used to call him, and yeah, I was the first protagonist of that. When the 5 minutes compilation came, I was the first guy in that. So yeah. But yeah, Three Idiots.
Okay.
I mean, it was part of the conversation for sure, right? So
Your friend from the Ken, he came for a BGS lecture, and the first thing he did was show his mark sheet, and he said in all different grades he
Yeah.
showed 1A. He
Yeah.
was like, so you better listen to me because it will be easier. And
So
what
fun
kind
guy.
of a student were you, like in campus?
In IIMB, I was terrible. I was terrible, right? So, yeah, I don't think saying my grade would be fun. But yeah, think about, uh, look, so I realized early in IIMB journey, right, or before coming in here, I had a college friend, really close friend, who was my PGV2 at IIMB. He's doing great in his life. Fingers crossed, he's taking his company next year to IPO, right? So, so this guy told me in the first week. मैंने कहा भाई क्या करना होता है यहाँ? So he tells me, you are not DML material, हो नहीं पाएगा तेरे से DML. उसके नीचे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता ग्रेड का, right? So do whatever you think is the best use of your 2 years, right? Um, Again, this is not what I'm advocating to the people. Some courses were really, really good, really, really excellent, right? Possibly I could have spent a little bit more time doing that. But yeah, so fortunate, I did a lot of sports here, lot of sports. I was in Student Affairs Council for a while, did sports, played football, played volleyball. Interestingly, I was I was the sledge captain of my batch, right? So yeah, so that was that. That's what I did. 2 years, extreme fun. Met some amazing friends who came really, really useful in my life, and I can go on to say played a very big part of in my entrepreneurship journey. Um, yeah, so that's what I did. If you go by grade sheet, I was a terrible student, right? So, yeah.
So I was wondering that if you ever would analyze that, for example, now because it's been 15, 16 years that you've been in the corporate journey, like in entrepreneurship, and your peers must have been climbing the corporate ladder. Do you see any particular quality or trait or something that you saw or you could recognize, okay, this is the thing that took them forward? It wouldn't have been maybe grades, or something else would have been that was more driving in the long run success rather than the short run success without burning out.
It's always a tricky question when it comes to success, right? So how do you even define success? Someone who is doing exceedingly well at an FMCG company, HUL, right? But at a lower pay grade because of the nature of the job, right? Versus someone who is in product management, earning crazy amount of money, be the first guy at one of those unicorn startups, maybe the first employee, etc., right? So it's very difficult to define success, right? But one thing that I understand is, so the way that I define success to me in a career is, if you started at here, right, and your relative point, right, what was at that point of time, what was your projected path, right? And let's say if your projected path is here, are you here or are you there? So for example, when I think about my batch, I'm sure true for every batches, the 50 most stud folks of the batch would go to MBB, or they would go to an investment bank. At that point of time, people would have projected their career path like this, right? And I would be extremely surprised if their career path would have had a very high variance, right? So they have reached to where they were destined to reach. Is that success? Absolutely success, right? The way that I look at things, right, is if someone's at that point of time, a projection was this, is he here, right? And if that delta is required, in my view, there are only two ways in order to do that. One is predominant, which is risk. Okay. Which is risk, right? Second is how good are you with people, right? 10 साल के कॉर्पोरेट करियर के बाद ना कोई एनालिटिकल प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व नहीं करता है, कोई नहीं प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करता है, राइट? अ प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर would also not think about कि यूजर क्या सोच रहा है, राइट? एंड एंटरप्रेन्योर एक प्रॉब्लम के साथ स्टार्ट करता है, ही इज नॉट थिंकिंग अबाउट दैट प्रॉब्लम डे इन डे आउट, राइट? ऑब्वियसली सम पार्ट yes, right? What you're doing is getting things done, selling your vision, convincing them and getting things done, right? 10 साल के बाद इंसान ये करता है, right? तो risk and how good you are with people, these are the only two things जो तुम्हें ये डेल्टा दे सकता है,
Understand.
right? So that's how I define success. This is, for example, without naming a friend, but think about someone, it's fun, right? So someone who joined from campus, possibly the one of the last folks to get a job, right? Think about a starting salary of 8.5 lakhs. That's it, right? Did exceedingly well in 2 years. He had great skills, right? 1.5 further 2 years later, because the people that he worked with in his first organization, he did exceedingly well. So these guys, his bosses, when they were starting up in 2015, he was the first guy that they approached, and he joined them. First employee of a company, and extremely likely going to be an IPO next year or the year later, and it's going to be at least a $10 billion IPO.
I'm getting goosebumps.
Right? 10 billion plus IPO, right? First employee, right? Now, if someone had projected his path, would have been very different, right? That's what I call success.
Greatest delta.
Right? That's where you create delta. Delta कैसे होगा यार? Risk नहीं लोगे, delta नहीं होता है. Yeah. Right? So I don't know. I've seen in some video, some lady, I think some partner at McKinsey, one of those IIT alum, I think IIT Kanpur या कहीं की थी. IIT Kanpur has this crazy batch of 2001, 2002, 2003 जो सिर्फ unicorns बहुत सारे पैदा किए, right? Starting from in movies, Exigo वगैरह वगैरह टाइप का. तो someone asks her, the podcaster, that when you look back कि 2001 में कौन सा तुम्हारा बैच का कौन से वो 10 लोग हैं 15 लोग हैं जो लाइफ में फोड़ेंगे, राइट? और आज के डेट में कौन फोड़े, राइट? एंड शी सेज यार आई कैन नॉट फाइंड एनी कोरिलेशन. द ओनली कोरिलेशन आई कुड फाइंड आर द ones who took risk and kept at it. The first idea didn't work out, the second idea didn't work out, the third idea worked out. Right? Those are the names that you know. Right? And she says this is the only correlation I figured out, that the ones who took risk had the only chance to create those delta. Is it sufficient? No. Is it necessary? Yes. That's what I'm trying to say.
That was very insightful, and more so for people who are listening, for them, if they consider anything that like a finality, maybe not getting into the right college, not getting into the right company, anything feels very, very final because of the peer pressure at very competitive places, which is why hearing you say that will be very insightful.
I'll share a couple of anecdotes, right? I'm assuming this is going to be part of the interview, that why did I start entrepreneurship and stuff like that, etc. But I'm just preempting that part to answer this question, right? Think about my journey, right? I can talk about grade actually, because it would help a lot of people. I had like 2.54 grade at IIMB, right? And I knew that that's going to be my grade, right? Which was a good sign, right? It's difficult for people who are looking at 3 or 3.2 and hold well, right? So I'll tell you there are two reasons, which not reasons, two big anecdotes which pushed me towards entrepreneurship, right? And that's inspiration. There was a batchmate of mine, and take yourself back to a situation of 2009, because it's these situations have changed in India right now. 2009, no one was doing entrepreneurship, right? 2009, this guy came in, fresher from college, right? He was doing carbon trading in 2006-7 in his second year of his engineering, right? When he came to campus in the first year, उससे पहले वाला the climate जो COP होता है, right? It's in Copenhagen, and this guy was carbon credit consultant to the Portuguese Prime Minister, right? And he was running his own company and stuff like that. RCB वाले जो green jersey पहनते हैं, that was his, right? That was his idea and stuff like that. He won against Mahindra, other folks, right? Does YLR still teach? YLR Murthy, right?
Yes.
Very fortunate to have 2 courses under him. So that it was his subject first year, and YLR ke classes obviously submissions. Obviously, you have like multiple night outs, right? So we had that submission. We had 4 people in that group. Already one shot. Typically 5 होता था. 4 होते थे. There's one girl who had all MBB and IBank shortlist, so she would be out for the dinners. So we are left with 3, and there's the third guy is this guy, and he would never come to any of these, whatever the project meetings and stuff like that, right? And one day he came, right, out of blue, 5th meeting, 6th meeting, like 1 hour late. I didn't even say sorry, right? And it's like, कि क्या चल रहा है and all of that, etc. And half an hour later, कि आशीष आई नीड टू गो लाइक भाई क्या बोल रहा है मैं अदर प्रोजेक्ट मेट इज लाइक बस मैं तो बात नहीं कर रहा लाइक क्या बोल रहा है देन ही टेल्स मी वी आर हैव ए मीटिंग एट 12 बोलता है यस देखिए आई एम स्पीकिंग टू समवन इन दुबई जिनसे आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट टेकिंग ए 4 crore का डेट एंड दैट वाज द फर्स्ट टाइम आई फेल्ट कि ये बंदा 4 करोड़ डेट की बात कर रहा है और मैं यहाँ पर दार्जिलिंग के वाघ बकरी का एक मार्केट रिसर्च सर्वे बना रहा हूं मैं तो यार 10 साल पीछे हूं राइट नाउ देयर आर ओनली 2 ways टू थिंक अबाउट इट राइट ईदर यू गेट डिमोटिवेटेड कि आई एम नॉट गुड इनफ और यू फील भाई कुछ तो बात रही होगी आई एम इन द सेम प्रोजेक्ट ग्रुप आई एम इन द सेम क्लास कुछ तो बात रही होगी कि we are in the same room, right? It's just that he understands his potential and I just don't, right? That was my first inspiration that this is exciting and this is doable, right? Second, which is a funnier one, I would not take this guy's name, he would kill me, but there was this classmate of mine, right, who started up, right, from campus at the beginning of second year, and he is one of those guys जिसको उस टाइम पे अगर आप प्रोजेक्ट करोगे तो he would be like ये बंदा लाइफ में एवरेज करेगा, right? And he started up, and it's like कि भाई ये कर रहा है तो हम क्यों नहीं कर सकते, right? In a bad way, but doesn't matter, right? Doesn't matter, right? Whatever helps you, right? And that guy has done amazing thing in his life. Right, just kept on going. Yeah, crazy stuff, right? So what I'm trying to say is the folks who think they are not performing here, right? And वो feeling आना बहुत natural है, because you have been elite. इस यहाँ से आने से पहले तो हम elite ही थे, right? कोई तो पीछे आएगा यार, कोई तो पीछे आएगा, right? If you are here, that means you have done like 99 things right or 95 things right, right? You have a peer pressure, right? You see things people are doing great, take it, right? You are just not inferior than them, it's just that you don't realize it, right? It's just a startup career. Take the good part of these inspirations, right, and go at it.
And basically unlock your own potential, because unless you see it, people won't.
I think potential, मतलब psychologically 2 चीजें होती है, right? अपना दिमाग खाली रखना है, right? Clean slate के साथ चलनी है सारी चीजों पे. That's one, and think positive.
Okay.
That's about it.
That was very insightful.
That's
because you've taken up why you did entrepreneurship, I think I'd like to ask that what was the challenge, especially in the early years, since you were, like you mentioned that because of somebody else you took inspiration to do it, but because the ratio is skewed when it comes to the success of any venture. So when you know that you're more likely to not succeed, and especially when the road bumps or are hitting hard, and then also you're starting up in life, there's personal life, there are responsibilities. So how did you navigate
Actually, you
that?
answered everything that I wanted to answer, very honestly, right? इसका आंसर ये है, बिफोर द इंटरव्यू जो मैं बोल रहा था ना, वही बेवकूफ था.
Okay.
You have to be naive to start entrepreneurship, very honestly.
Okay.
Right? Because your the ratio is so skewed, right? A lot of times it just does not make logical sense. बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग है ये कि आप ये सोचो कि the people who think that I know what to do in entrepreneurship, I know I have a lot of things figured out, will be the ones who would have a lot of experience generally, right? And the people who would not have a lot of these figured out are in their young stuff. आप जब lot of experience हो जाती है ना, there are आपके पास negative क्या है? Your negative is I have a lot of responsibilities, I have a lot of liabilities. As co-founders, you need a lot of folks that you have worked with. You know them really well. With every passing year in your life, your distance with your friends just keep on increasing, right? So in your 20s, your chances of getting folks is easier. Your kharcha is lesser, right? Your risk-taking ability is higher. देख लेंगे यार क्या हो जाएगा, right? In your 30s you can't afford to do that, right? So भगवान ने सबको equal दिया है चीजें, right? But my answer to this was naivety. It was naivety in hindsight, but I'll tell you the reason why I did, right? So it happened like a few months after IIMB. So there's this batchmate of mine, a really good friend who I owe a lot for pushing me to entrepreneurship. His name is Akhil Gupta, Gupak. So Gupak was my batch, Kalseki, etc. So Gupak was starting up in last term of IIMB, right? So he has started up. I had joined NetApp as a product manager. We kept meeting almost every week, right? Generally, right? Nothing related to work. Kept meeting. And 3-4 months later, he asked me, do you want to join? Right? And the product ban raha tha, right? So in fact, there were 3 already. Gupak was the only full-time. The other 2 guys were part-time, etc. I took 1 day to decide, right? And my decision-making criteria was very simple at that point of time. I was 25. I'm like, life cannot get any easier than this, right? If there is some place I want to take a risk, it is now, right? So that's how I started. So Muntara, you would see COO, because technically I was not the co-founder, but joined at the time of product building, like literally in the first 4-6 months. So worked as pretty much as a co-founder. So that's how I got into entrepreneurship.
Okay.
Right. But yeah, बहुत ज़्यादा पागलपंती चाहिए होती है. A lot of it is you feel good about a problem. Now coming to the serious part, let's say there is a problem that you think is a big enough problem. There is a problem that you would like to solve the problem. You feel connected about it. You know about the problem more than most of the people, right? And that's how most of the entrepreneurship journey starts, right? Yeah, so it starts like that, and rest of the things you try to figure out in the journey.
So currently, do you mentor, because now that you've transitioned to a VC, which is sort of like first you were a founder and now you're getting founders to pitch to you, so it's like a 360-degree turn. And
yeah, I don't see it that way, but yeah. So look, so when we started out, right? So Muntara, say let's say 2012, right? Autoninja was 2013 end. Even till 2014 early, even getting a person who was working at Infosys to quit his job and work for a startup was impossible.
Okay.
Impossible. Right? You could not hire a single guy. It's very difficult. There was no concept of investors.
Okay.
Right? The first time the proper VC, I mean, obviously there were companies which are getting funded, one or two, right? Proper inflection point started in 2013, around in and around that time, right?
Yeah.
There's not a lot of investors available. Hiring was difficult, but coming to your question, you didn't know anyone to go to seek advice.
Yeah.
Right? What should be my ESOP plan? What should be the first set of kind of employees that I want to hire?
Yeah.
मुझे मेरा business plan क्या बनना चाहिए? How do you even calculate a TAM? Right? How do you sell in US? What is SEO? कुछ नहीं पता होता था, right? And you would not know anyone who can help you. Just a funny incident I'll tell you, that when we received, so we were SAF partners funded, which is Elevation, at Autoninja, and it was like pre-product, just an idea funded, right? They gave us a term sheet, right? And we looked at it. We could not understand a single term, right? And they looked at us. We realized you guys are confused. Do you know anyone जिससे जाके तुम बात कर सकते हो? हमने कहा कि not really. So they said, you guys go and should talk to this guy, right? And we knew this person is very close to that fund, right? So now think about, first thought is, oh, okay, it's a related party to our investors. So even if the terms could be bad for us, will this guy tell us that these terms are bad for you? But you don't have an option, right? From there, where we have reached is crazy. Trust me, it's crazy. Right? Today, if anyone wants to build a company, there are enough number of talent available who have sold in US. There are enough number of talent available who have done inside sales sitting in India to US. Right? बाकी चीजें तो है ही टाइप की सी, right? So now, what obviously gives me a lot of satisfaction is the things that we didn't have when we started out, which is a lot of mentoring, a lot of advice, etc. Right? If you can give that and fundamentally affect people's journey and even increase their chances of success, that's brilliant. That's very fulfilling. Right? Another nuance that I want to add here, that actually adding value to an entrepreneur's life is not that easy, because the problem that he is dealing with is very nuanced. Why nuanced? Because this guy is really working hard on something, right? He's invested 100% ownership. ये नहीं कि भाई randomly काम कर रहा है, right? If he's seeking for a certain advice, you would not know a lot of this context, what he's going through. So your very superficial advice is not going to change his life, right? So the nuance that I wanted to add is, if someone wants to advise to the startups, he should do, obviously. But if you really want to help them succeed, you need to have some skin in the game. Invest in those companies so that you are closer to the founders. Maybe you are helping 30 founders, 30 companies founder, or not helping 200 companies founder, which is fine. There would be another one which is helping those 30. Right? So that was also one of the inspiration behind, starting a fund. That ki jab tak skin in the game nahi aaya, you cannot change. You cannot, positively affect.
Okay. So, like when you're investing, obviously you're looking at the founder or the business. I'm trying to ask if you're sector agnostic, or do you go for domains that you have more knowledge or interest in, or do you like to take risks over here? Because like you mentioned that risks are very important. So how do you make that decision?
The way that I put this answer to people, right, and which was the inspiration behind starting Shastra, is early stage investing, right? Super early stage, right? Pre-revenue, right? Is actually about, is this problem a good enough problem to solve, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't have obviously any kind of validation, market validation, because it's pre-product, pre-revenue, etc., etc. And is this the right set, right team who you can bet on, right? Because it's a smaller conversation, so I'll keep it short that way, that any matured startup ecosystem will always end up having the folks who have built companies in the past predominantly doing early stage investments. What I'm trying to say is, so think about US or any kind of early stage matured startup ecosystem, where early stage investors are always ex operators in the past, right? These guys are not your investment bankers. Reason being, if you have done it in your life, you would be able to judge that guy better on day one, right? 3 years later, 4 years later, I don't think there is a delta, right? Second is, an average Indian founder 25-26 साल का होता है, mostly engineer, from one of those top 8-10 premier engineering colleges. Has never sold anything in his life, entire life, possibly customer से कभी बात भी नहीं किया होगा, right? Has never hired a team. Essentially, he requires a lot of help on the hard skills and soft skills, right? Yeah. The folks who have never built a company in his whole life would not be able to help these founders a lot, right? Okay. So that's why ex-operators, which is called operator turned VC, is like a norm for a matured startup ecosystem. Okay. It's just what we saw. There is a gap, and it's fault of none, no one's fault, right? That कि अपनी ecosystem mature हो रही है, right? We're just barely 10-12 years of startup ecosystem, right? So we saw a gap that there are not enough number of investors who can genuinely take risks at the early stage, help the founders, right? And we saw that as a gap. Okay. And that's why we jumped in. Coming to the sector, we are a deep tech focused VC. We do 60% hard deep tech, which is space, defense, semiconductor, clean energy, climate, advanced manufacturing, etc. So that's 60% of ours. 30% is AIML, 10% is जो भी अच्छा लगता है, type C. So that's that.
So if anybody watching wants to reach out and is working in this sector, so what will be the process?
So website just
and everybody is welcome.
Yeah.
There are no.
Okay. Right. So.
And because I had seen your LinkedIn, and where you'd mentioned that you're very optimistic about the next 2-3 decades for India. And given that the technology is changing so rapidly with respect to AI and ML, where do you see where do you see we as MBA like people who've done their MBA and also who are wanting to come here, where do you see our skills lie in this changing climate?
Right. So I mean it's always there, right? So for example, let me. I mean, general ज्ञान तो कहीं से भी मिल जाएगा. Let me put it the ones where I think I know better than, let's say, other folks because of my whatever, right, involvement, which is take like something like a deep tech, right, hard deep tech, right. I'll give you examples, right. So for example, both my first space company from the fund, he's a professor. The other guy is a professor PhD, the second co-founder. My second space company is an ex-ISRO. My semiconductor company is professors. My defense company, one of the defense companies is a PhD, right, etc. So the case that I'm trying to build is these folks have never built businesses in the past, has never done business in the past, right? Have never done in business in the past, right? India ने space की चीजें नहीं बेचा है, right? Defense की चीजें हमने बेचा है, but सरकार को बेचा है and at some level बेचा है, which is exploding, right? Multiple things, right? So what I'm trying to say is these sectors are all opening up, right? The names that I took, सारे open up हो रहे हैं, right? And no one today in the country, or very few in the country, would have the necessary experience of doing business in these sectors or of these sectors, right? So there is a, तो वहाँ कौन आएंगे? वो MBA ही आते हैं ना फिर eventually, right? So ये सारी opportunities हैं, right? AIML have changed the landscape of technology massively. Is changing. It's nauseating the pace at which it is changing, right? I'm sure business के roles होंगे. Short term maybe lesser is how I'm looking at, right? Someone like Cursor went from $100 million revenue to $400 million revenue in 3 months, and they had 0 sales people till January. Till last month they had 4.
Okay.
Right. So it's changing. Short term bigger, but I'm sure things would improve. Not things would evolve. Right. MBAs would find their place. Right, etc. But it's extremely difficult for me to actually project where AI is heading.
Actually, the discussion and debate started only when the Harvard MBAs didn't land jobs, and that is how the whole discussion around degrees, elite degrees, where do they stand with this amount of tech, which is amplifying the amount of work that can be done. So hence the debate.
I agree, right? I mean, look, the world have always rewarded the people who builds, and rightly so. क्योंकि जो build कर रहा है ना उसका risk सबसे ज्यादा है. If the guy who is taking the highest risk, if he does not have the highest reward, no one will build. An MBA is not building, is not creating. His risk is lower. His reward has to be lower. Right? अगर ये equilibrium हिल जाएगा तो MBA के पास नौकरी ही नहीं रहेगी. कोई तो build करे. Right? Typically what you would see is anytime technology change happens, the builders take over. Then scale की journey आती है. That's where MBAs play a bigger role. Right? Case in point, I don't know how true it is, right? But a friend of mine who was IIMB alum, who was interviewing the new batch, right? And he tells me the quality of the folks who I saw in the interview were genuinely lesser than the quality of the folks when we came in, right? And there is a debate and stuff like that, right? I don't know whether that is actually true, that is actually not true. But one thing that I know for a fact, right, is back in 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, if you are an engineer, a good engineer or a good undergrad, right, you don't have a lot of quality jobs in this country. Right? पैसे मिल जाएगा, अच्छी जॉब मिल जाएगी, बट जो क्वालिटी जॉब कहता है ना कि मतलब मैं इंटेल में बैठा हूँ, यूएस में अच्छे काम हो रहे हैं, यहाँ बेकार काम हो रहे हैं, राइट, एक्सेट्रा टाइप की सीन वो नहीं होती थी, राइट? सो व्हाट ऑप्शन डू यू हैव? आई मीन द फोक्स हु रियली वांट टू गो अहेड इन देयर करियर, राइट, आर रेडी टू make a move. You either go outside to do your masters, या फिर you do an MBA. Okay. Right? 2013 से लेके, and it's a gradual process. 2013 से लेके, primarily I give a lot of credit to Flipkart. Okay. Right? I'm still disappointed that the Bansals don't get enough credit like the Nilekanis or the Murtis or the Premjis get. Right? Obviously they should get. Right? But what the Bansals did at Flipkart is phenomenal. Solved possibly 10 really hard problems for the first time. राइट लॉजिस्टिक्स सॉल्व कर दिए यार, लोगों को पहली बार क्रेडिट कार्ड यूज करना सिखा दिए, राइट सीओडी क्या होता है सिखा दिए. वो नहीं बनता, मिंत्रा नहीं बनता, स्विगी नहीं बनता, राइट एक्सेट्रा. राइट सो व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू से इज, आई एम डाइग्रेसिंग, बट फर्स्ट टाइम good folks had good job to do in India. You were doing internship in product manager, someone is doing internship at product manager, right? 2009 तक एग्जिस्ट नहीं करती थी प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर, एग्जिस्ट नहीं करती थी. मेरे बैच से 4 या 5 लोग प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर रोल पे गए होंगे. ओके, एग्जिस्ट नहीं करती थी प्रोडक्ट मैनेजमेंट, राइट? आज के डेट पे हर बैच में 40 लोग जाते होंगे या 30-40 लोग जाते होंगे, राइट? सो द पॉइंट दैट आई एम ट्राइंग टू मेक इज 10-15 साल में, बिकॉज ऑफ द स्टार्टअप रेवोल्यूशन, राइट, पीपल हैव बेटर जॉब. Right? Now what does that mean? Right? That you don't necessarily need an MBA to do a lot of good stuff, right? So I mean, you started with the question, what should MBA do? But
because if somebody is taking that risk in terms of money and everything, how do they leverage their position here to maximize the investment that they've done? For example, how did you maximize the leverage that you had over here? Obviously, in terms of connections and even resources and things that you utilized from here.
Make a lot of friends. Trust me. Make a lot of friends. Okay. I'll give you इसके पीछे के 2 reasons, right? You know, people call it connections or friends or whatever, right? So, but the strength matters, right? I'll give it 2 parts, right? From my own career journey. तुम्हारी करियर में अगर सब कुछ सही चल रही है, बी तुम्हें अगर रिस्क नहीं लेनी, यू जेन्युइनली डोंट रिक्वायर अ लॉट ऑफ फ्रेंड्स. ठीक है, बीइंग सेल्फिश, राइट? सो ठीक है, 4-6 दोस्त हैं, दोस्त नहीं है तो नेवर है, रिलेटिव हैं, जो भी है, राइट? तुम्हारी करियर अच्छी चल नहीं रही है, वुड यू बैक ऑन, राइट? लेट्स से तुम्हारी करियर अच्छी चल रही है, यू वांट टू टेक अ रिस्क, right? Case in point, I'll give you this. The first time I paid my education loan EMI was 8.5 years after graduating from IIMB. Okay. Right? Because I didn't have money. Right? Just then company बिकी, the first money that hit my account, the next day morning, I took my checkbook, came to Bannerghatta Road here, कि sir बताओ क्या करना है, right? Point I'm trying to say is, in those years, every time I travel to Bombay, every time I travel to Delhi, right? Obviously you have to stay in the hotel, but as a founder you're thinking about company का पैसा खर्च हो जाएगा, right? I always had a friend जिसके सोफे पे मैं सो सकता था, राइट? वो फ्रेंड नहीं बनते कैंपस के बाहर, वो फ्रेंड कैंपस में बनता है, राइट? ऑलमोस्ट एवरी फ्रेंड, you know, sort of in some financial way or whatever, supported, right? So that's one part when you're good, when you need them, right? Just to give a perspective on Shastra, very small fund, will get 240 crores fund. I have 45 LP. LP is essentially limited partners. LP is are the investors in the fund. Okay. I have 45 LPs from IIM Bangalore. 45. Right? My batch, my senior batch, my junior batch. Okay. Right? And out of these 45, this is important. Out of 45, I don't have the number, but my feel is 42 or 43 of them are the first time investors in an VC fund. Why did they invest in the fund? They invested in because they just knew me from the campus. Yeah. right? So do your stuff, whatever you like, and all of that, etc. But my biggest takeaway, the thing that I tell to people is make a lot of solid connections. Some people call it solid connections, some people call it friends, but make them and show up everywhere. कुछ भी हो रहा है पहुंच जाओ, रूम पे सो मत यार, right? That is what I did my 2 years. That is what I tell to people, right? कि ठीक है 3 घंटा सो जाना, बाद में सो जाना, चिल कर लेना, सीरीज बाद में देख लेना. This 2 years is not for that. This 2 years is just bloody show up, right? वहां कुछ कोई खेल रहा है, just show up. किसी हॉस्टल में पार्टी हो रही है, show up, right? You don't know क्या कुछ अनलॉक करेगा. You don't know
exactly what makes you an entrepreneur, and you said that you are passionate about building. So where I'm taking this is that where do you see yourself now looking ahead, that how do you continue this passion now that you're mentoring also, but your
Autoninja.
Autoninja is also being has been acquired by ICCI.
Yeah.
So currently you're building a lot of things simultaneously, and initially you were building one thing like
Not really. So Autoninja got acquired, right? Autoninja got sold in 2019, and we had to stay for like 3 years. So my last day with Autoninja or ICS Lombard was early 2023, right? So that chapter of life is closed. Today I'm like 100% VC.
Okay, so what I wanted to ask was, do you miss that thrill of being a founder, having challenges every day?
100%, right? So entrepreneur की life में kick होती है,
Yeah.
right? Every day you have a kick. VC life में kick नहीं होती है. It's a bloody boring job, right? Sorry, बाकी VC friends, but it's a boring job, right? Boring in the sense that you don't have a lot of thrill, you don't have a lot of kick.
Yeah.
कि तुम्हारी कोई कंपनी maybe goes on to IPO and तुम भी साथ में जाके घंटी बजा दो, but deep down you know that you have played maybe 0.01% role in this journey, right? तो वो kick और thrill नहीं है, but it's a very fun job, right? That there is no day of boredom, because every day you are learning something new. Every day you're meeting so many people, interesting people who are trying to solve. Psychologically also, when the world typically generally negative चीजें की बात होती है, you are meeting founders जो कुछ बना रहा होता है, he is always positive, right? Whether he cracks it or not is a different matter altogether, but you are surrounded by people who are always thinking positive. That's fantastic. So that way boredom नहीं है, बहुत ही interesting job है, but kick नहीं होती है. So that part of entrepreneurship I do miss.
Yeah, so I was thought of getting to this only because I've heard, and this is common amongst all entrepreneurs.
Everyone should be.
Yeah, that
Should be.
yeah,
Entrepreneurship is thrilling. It's thrilling, right? You hate it and you love it at the same time, right? So that it's बहुत fascinating चीज़ है.
Okay, so I hope that our listeners get the inspiration if they want to take that leap of faith, because currently there are an array of opportunities for people at all different junctures. People who are there in the corporate ladder, done things, even in my previous company,
मैं इसको simplify कर देता हूँ लोगों के लिए कि simple चीज़ है. If you have reached to like an IIMB, right? तुमने लाइफ में ठीक ठाक कर लिया है कि भाई लाइफ में कमाल हो गया, right? Take it, अगर लाइफ में कुछ करना है, take a risk of at least 2 years, at least. ज्यादा से ज्यादा क्या हो जाएगा, वो 2 साल की सैलरी तो नहीं मिलेगी, एंड लेट्स से तुम्हारी सैलरी 50 लाख थी, 2 साल में तुम्हें 1 करोड़ नहीं मिलेगा, लेट्स से टैक्स कट के व्हाटएवर, राइट? बट व्हेन योर सैलरी इज 50 lakhs, you are anyway spending 30 lakhs, लेट्स से. जब सैलरी नहीं होगी तो स्पार्टन जिंदगी जियोगे, तो what are you losing? You're losing out on 40 lakhs. जो saving जो होनी थी वही तो गया, और क्या चला गया भाई life में?
So that can simplify it for people.
Right, exactly.
And do you mostly go by a very practical, data-driven approach, or do you trust your instincts more when it comes?
Yeah, two parts, right? One part is actually early stage investing. So we go super early. So for example, just to give you a perspective, 32 companies in the fund, 25 of them pre-revenue, like not a single rupee revenue. So there's no data in it, right? So a large part of it is instinct.
Okay.
Second होता है कि एक होता है कि तुम्हारी फंडामेंटल मॉडल ऑफ इन्वेस्टिंग क्या है, राइट? एंड सेकंड होता है कि तुम्हारी इनहेरेंट खुद की पर्सनालिटी क्या है, राइट? वो दोनों सुपर इम्पोज होके बनती है, राइट? कंबाइन होके करती है, राइट? एज अ पर्सन आई एम जनरली इंस्टिंक्ट ड्रिवन पर्सन, so I'm a lot more instinct when I come to investing.
Taking decisions. Okay.
I would be a terrible growth investor.
Okay.
Terrible growth investor.
So, apart from this, I want to understand that what do you do daily and actionable items that keep you up to date, let's say mentally, physically, emotionally, because currently mental health has been a problem ever since COVID, and even our physical health is deteriorating given all the things that are happening around us. So, what do you say we as students, people who are watching, anybody that what to do for yourself, which gives you that edge over other people, because this is the unsaid epidemic that we are fighting.
Yeah. इसका ना मेरा आंसर हमेशा always is this, right? You will get stress if you are spending time on doing something that you don't like, right? If you spend large part of your day doing things that you like, you are not stressed, right? जो पब का बाउंसर होगा, बढ़िया म्यूजिक सुनता है, वो अच्छी क्राउड देखता है, राइट? वो भी तो वो स्ट्रेस्ड होता है ना, टाइप की सीन, right? Similar to that, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is, I don't do anything extraordinary, right? I love my job, so working is not stressful for me.
Okay.
Right? It's pretty much a stress buster for me, actually. That's one. Second is, I'm not playing a lot these days, but I watch a lot of sports, so that's stress buster. Then I spend a lot of time with my kid. She's 4. So yeah, whatever. So the funda is simple. Spend more time doing things that you love. ये है बस, right? तो अब उसके लिए जो तुम्हें पसंद है. That's how I look at life.
Okay, so what's your take on like the 70-hour work week or work-life balance in that debate, because you love your job and you love your family? So where in that debate do you have?
Yeah, it is this, right? I don't know कि तुम्हारे इंडक्शन वीक में तुम्हें ये था कि नहीं, grades, sleep and extracurricular.
Yeah.
Holy Trinity नहीं मिलता ना,
नहीं.
तो कहीं भी नहीं मिलता. जिसको लाइफ में एक्स्ट्रॉर्डिनरी करनी है और वो 70 आवर से रोएगा, तो उसको बोलना है कि भाई तू पागल है. Why are you thinking about extraordinary things then?
Yeah.
Right? And जिसको extraordinary नहीं करनी है, and he still has to do 70 hours,
Yeah.
then you are not good enough.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Right? सिंपल सा फंडा है. बेसिक इकोनॉमिक्स चलती है दुनिया में. सप्लाई है, डिमांड है, राइट? If you want to do extraordinary things and are not ready to slog 70 hours, there are 10 other people who are ready to do na, right? And I did 90 hours a week, 9 straight years, right? उसके नीचे नहीं होता, नहीं होता, right? Work-life balance, and it's not about entrepreneurship. Excellence and balance cannot go together. कौन सा विराट कोहली के वर्क लाइफ बैलेंस है? नहीं है ना. No athlete ever had a balance. Morning 4 a.m., 4:30 a.m., you get up, you go play, practice, blah blah blah, etc. You become successful, you cannot stay up in the night, you cannot smoke, you cannot party, etc. Is that balance for them? But you have a lot of money, etc. But that's not balance. Excellence and balance don't go together. Don't go together. Simple. Right? And ये तो stupidity है लोगों का कि भाई 70 hours outreach कर लो, 100 hours outreach कर लो, and etc. It's not about 70 hours, 100 hours. It's about the intent behind those conversations, right? But one thing is for sure, right? If you don't love your job, your 40 hours week is also stressful. And if you love your job, your 70 hours work is not stressful.
So, would you have any advice for people who are yet to figure out their passion job, or because nothing is bad enough but nothing's good enough, and they're somewhere in the middle?
No, fair. Completely agree, right? So, yeah, my take on passion is this. You will get, I mean, especially on work front, whatever, right? That as a human, you like to have something or know something that either you didn't know before or B, not many people have. ये दो प्लेस में तुम्हें किक मिलता है. Correct? Right? Now, let's extrapolate this. That let's say there is one sort of work, one sort of topic where let's say your peers are, let's say 300 people, right? Have knowledge till this threshold. For some reason, तुमने भी पढ़ाई चालू की उस पे, एंड तुम सीखने गए कुछ किए वगैरह वगैरह, एंड तुम इसको ब्रीच कर गए, right? You now know that I know better than most of my peers on this, and then you keep building at it. All of a sudden ये सब ना एक साथ चलती है. That why did you do that? ऐसा तो नहीं कि vengeance था कि मैं चला गया. You had started liking it. Then you all of a sudden start loving it, and then फिर यहाँ से किक मिलती है तुम्हें लाइफ में कि I am one of those rare people who actually have reached. जो माउंटेन क्यों चढ़ते हैं लोग? समिट क्यों से समिट बोलते हैं, राइट? कि वहीं किक मिलती है, राइट? So that's how I look at things, right? That if you have not figured out, the best thing that you can do yourself is just show up at every opportunity. Show up at every opportunity. किसी एक दोस्त ने बोला था, उसका चोरी हुआ सेंटेंस है, that if you have done well in life, let's say and especially for the people जो IIMB में पहुंच गए हैं, generally you have done well in life, life will throw a lot of opportunities at you. Will always. The ones who actually cash on some of them are the ones who tend to do better. Right? So my take on this कि भाई just show up, keep doing it. सोचना नहीं कि भाई मैं तो इसमें बेटर नहीं हुई, ये नहीं, करते रहो. You will figure out कि क्या किस चीज में तुम अच्छे हो, and you will figure out what's your passion.
Just don't be afraid of making a fool of yourself, because nobody is good at something in the first time. Yeah, I think that the listeners will love. Now we can go to a quick rapid fire that we had for you. So you can answer it as rapidly as you want. One book or movie that's deeply influenced you.
Book is 0 to 1.
Okay.
Peter Thiel.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Thiel, he gives the scholarship, the Thiel scholarship.
Yeah. 0 to 1 is a fantastic book.
Yeah.
I love reading history, especially Indian history. So yeah, I mean, I can't think of a book which changed a lot of perspective, but I guess Twitter changed a lot of perspective for me. Okay. And I kept building on it by reading a lot of books on Indian history. So that's that. Movie, nothing comes top of. I'm not a movie person. I don't watch a lot of movies. So
Okay, but if you remember a certain perspective that maybe when you were in college, you had a different outlook at it, and today you look at it very differently.
but in college, I had a different outlook, and I think biggest thing that is that college mein was not very ambitious this time,
Okay.
right? So that changed a lot of part, right? Lot more confident, right? Lot more confident. I think another चीज जो मैंने सीखा है कि when you have come to IIMB, you are good enough to speak your heart out,
Hmm.
right? Pretend करने की जरूरत नहीं होती, right? तो be as genuine as you can, right? कुछ लोगों के नेचर में होता है genuine होना, कुछ लोगों के नेचर में नहीं होता है.
Hmm.
Lot of times because of certain external pressure तुम करते हो, right? मेरे हिसाब से genuine वो नहीं होते हैं जो insecure होते हैं, right? And I think all the folks who have come to IIMB have done decent things in their life. Just be as genuine as possible, right? So yeah.
That's very insightful. What's your go-to productivity hack?
Actually, don't have. I saw this question, but I don't have. But yeah, so I'll tell you what I do, right? I figured out that essentially you need to sweat
Okay.
to be productive, right?
Okay.
अब उसके लिए for some people it could be some sports,
Cardio.
for some people it could be dance, for some people it could be run or whatever.
Yeah.
Simple है. I don't know the हार्मोन के नेम वेम क्या होते हैं वो मेरे को पता
Endorphins,
नहीं है. जो
serotonin.
ठीक है, इतना मैंने फिगर आउट किया है लाइफ में कि जब तुम स्वेट करते हो,
Okay.
ठीक है, तब तुम्हारा दिमाग खाली होता है,
Yeah.
ठीक है, तुम्हारा दिमाग
Ridiculous.
ज्यादा तेजी से चलता है, right? That's my productivity hack. I tend to go on long walks, right? So if I have time.
Anything you avoid in terms of food for better, more focus?
I don't. I mean, eat
अच्छा.
light.
Okay.
मेरे ससुर जी बोलते हैं, my father-in-law, very insightful man. He says कि in life, no one has no one has died eating less food. इधर starvation से मर जाते हो कि खाना ही नहीं मिला, या ज्यादा खा के मर जाते हो,
Obesity. Yeah.
right? No one has died in his life by eating less food. If he had a choice, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So I have figured out. I think age is also catching up, right? So, but yeah, I eat less. That
And a common myth about being a founder that you'd like to debunk?
that it's a fancy job. It's not. Uh, it's not a fancy job. Uh, it's extremely lonely at top. Extremely lonely. I think as a founder, that's the only part I found stressful.
Okay.
It's extremely lonely in the sense, as someone, even if trusting the other person is your first instinct, so trusting your teammates as your first instinct, you still would have a decent amount of information that you cannot share with your teammates. ऐसे situations आते हैं, right? And then you just don't have anyone to share, right? It's extremely lonely at the top, right? Is also another reason why you should have a lot of friends or
Yeah.
good friends,
Yeah.
right? A, B, it's not fancy. It's not at all fancy. तुम janitor होते हो पूरा time janitor, right? And actually, when you start entrepreneurship because there is a problem that you are really excited about. तुम एनालिटिकल बेंड के होते हो, तुम सॉल्व करने के लिए जाते हो. 2 साल के बाद, 3 साल के बाद, there's hardly any minute of your life which goes in problem solving.
Yeah.
जैसे मेरा जो दूसरा co-founder था, he was also IIMB, a batch junior, Kshitij. Kshitij was extremely passionate about coding, right? Um, I don't think after 12 months of Autoninja, he has coded in his life. 12 महीना कोड किया होगा, उसके बाद नहीं किया. Yeah. So
Okay.
so that's also a myth.
Okay.
And obviously, yeah.
Okay.
And obviously, yeah.
So did you confide in other people, or did you learn to cope yourself with?
Yeah, मतलब वो people to people depend कर
Okay.
जाता है, right? You know, some people can do their own stuff in their own head. Some people need, right? I was fortunate that I had
Good friends.
to start with 4 co-founders, so
Acha.
not that lonely that way, right? But still, you'd be. But I had a lot of friends who, to some, I could share with. Possibly need a girlfriend or a wife that you can trust and stuff like that, who to share things with. So yeah, who can relate stuff, right? But
So our advice would be to always have a strong support system.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then a hobby or a routine that keeps you grounded. I think you mentioned that.
I'm generally grounded. पता नहीं मुझे आज तक नहीं समझ आया कि लोग grounded क्यों नहीं होते हैं.
Okay. And one piece of advice for your younger self.
I guess be pretty strange actually अगर मेरे engineering के दोस्त सुनेंगे, but then just be more confident. Just be more confident. जबकि yeah, I mean it's just a threshold thing, right? Just be more confident in your ability.
Okay.
Right? Never doubt yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, be more ambitious, right? I think these are the 2-3 things which all of them are connected. I guess that I think that's the only thing that I think about that I wish I was more.